So it's 1914, and Austria-Hungary has declared war on Serbia after the death of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, even though they knew that Serbia did not orchestrate the assassination. With those two countries at war, nearly a dozen others were immediately thrust into the conflict due to their respective alliances. But the United States doesn't have anything to do with it. We must be impartial in thought as well as in action, must put a curb upon our sentiments, as well as upon every transaction that might be construed as a preference of one party to the struggle before another. When World War I began in Europe in 1914, President Wilson had a policy of strict neutrality, which much of the American public agreed with. Although a vocal portion of the population believed in preparedness, and a small portion volunteered for the international war effort, there was very strong public support for a policy of isolationism. So, how did we end up involved? As you're watching this lesson, that is the question you should be seeking to answer, and that is what your notes should focus on. Why did the United States get involved in World War I? First, the United States had long been tied to Great Britain, both politically and economically. Americans sympathized with the current plight of the British as they watched the news and read about the devastating effects of the war. As well, U.S. firms lent large sums of money to Great Britain and other Allied governments to help fund their war efforts. They also sent supplies to Allied countries to help support the populations at home. So the United States had a stake in the outcome of the war. The second factor, which played a role in the United States' decision to go to war, was Germany's use of U-boats to conduct unrestricted submarine warfare. Great Britain had been successful in blockading German ports to cut off their supplies, so in response, Germany began sending its submarines to torpedo neutral ships that could be supplying the Allies. This meant that they were seeking merchant and tourist ships, which led to civilian deaths. This tactic came to a head when a German U-boat torpedoed the British passenger ship, the Lusitania, killing 1,198 civilians, including 128 Americans. This event is important for two reasons. First, Great Britain knew there was a U-boat in the area of the Lusitania, but they decided not to send any military presence to the area because they needed the United States to join the war and felt that the loss of American lives would turn the tide in their favor. Second, the public outrage in America and from the American government caused Germany to agree to cease the unrestricted warfare by only attacking military ships. And lastly, around the same time that the U.S. severed diplomatic ties with Germany due to the sinking of the Lusitania, British cryptographers decoded a telegram sent from German official Arthur Zimmermann to the German ambassador for Mexico. In the message, he ordered the ambassador to propose an alliance between Germany and Mexico, in which Mexico would go to war with the U.S., keeping us occupied and incapable of assisting the Allied powers in Europe. In exchange, Mexico would receive U.S. territory at the end of the war. This plan failed when the telegram was intercepted and made public. In March 1917, Germany continued with its unrestricted warfare and sunk 3 American ships. Within a month, President Wilson asked Congress for a declaration of war, and he quickly received it. The U.S. was now a part of World War I. So let's take a moment to reflect. Why did the United States go to war? Based on what you learned, do you think the United States made the right decision to enter the war?